Welcome to Convo Fango. Today we are joined by the director of MINDCAGE, Mauro Borrelli. Thank you for joining us.
Yeah.
That was like a semi look of approval, so I didn't do too badly.
Yes, no.
Amazing. So can you tell us a little bit about what MINDCAGE is about?
MINDCAGE is about is a thriller, first of all, with some supernatural element. An investigation about a serial killer that is mimicking some previous killing that were done by somebody called the artist that is confined into a prison cell waiting for his execution. You know, that's the premise. And of course, you know, and through the investigation, we will find a lot of secret that, you know, but it is a tentative to put together one of my fine art background as a painter with some film noir investigation story. You know, I always, you know, I'm always fascinated by detective story and like a movie like Seven. I really love it, right? But my approach always need to do something more like Shyamalan style, you know, like going a little bit into the fantastic, you know.
Right.
And look, a little bit it comes from my art background, and also working with the Terry Gilliam in the past and with the Tim Burton. So all these visual people that make you know, good use of their fantasy and the fantastic.
Right.
So I can't resist. If I do like even like action film, I need to put a little bit of fantastic in there.
Yeah. Which I love. I mean, the obvious comparison here, the obvious reference here is going to be probably Silence of the Lambs. But then this goes in very different directions. And as I was watching, I was like, I don't know. Like, I know where my mind is going, but I'm also tuned into more of like the fantastic and supernatural and horror elements. And I wasn't sure if this was going to be just a straight, like hard-boiled, like detective story, or if we were going to go in like different directions. And you do take it into fantastic directions. And then it gets really fun.
It's interesting to see, like I was looking, like we got a lot of view on our trailer already, and obviously there's like a lot of comments, you know, because and everybody, oh, hey, it reminds me of Silence of the Lamb, and they think they have already figured it out. And I think they will be surprised that they didn't figure it out.
I think that almost makes it more fun when people go in thinking that they know, and they're like, oh no, I know all like what this is already. And it's like, okay, surface level, you might have a concept of what we're starting with. You have no idea where this is taking it.
Exactly.
So the serial killer that the copycat is emulating in this is called the Artist. So when you've got a name like that, you better fucking deliver and give us some really gorgeous visuals, which you absolutely do. And you've already talked a little bit about you have a background in fine art. You've done illustrations and concept art for people like Tim Burton, for like the 2010 The Wolfman you did. So it's like, did that help you bring that artistic kind of, obviously, I mean, if these weren't the corpses of brutally murdered victims, it would just be gorgeous art.
Right. I don't like slash horror film. So if I do something that is extremely cool, you know, has to be artistic, like or like a painting, you know. So I think art can also change the sexuality as well as horror. They can turn into something beautiful if they are treated as a Renaissance painting, you know.
Right.
And I was a fine art painter before to work as an illustrator when I was in Italy. So, and some of the art that you see in the film are done by some of my friends that we start painting together. And now they're very famous. They're like two of the top artists in Italy that they did that. Some is my work, my personal work on that. So I had fun to do it during pre-production.
Is that what drew you to this script, the fact that there was so much art and so much opportunity to feature art and artists within this story?
Yeah, I mean, I thought that I really want to see a guy that paint, like I mean, I tell you, if I would love to do a Leonardo da Vinci movie.
Okay.
But then it become like an historic film, and so if I have to do how can I make a Leonardo da Vinci movie, but within the same context of Seven,
Right. Okay. That's gonna be that's a fantastic pitch. Leonardo da Vinci meets Seven, and people are like, "What?" And you're like, "Just trust me, just watch, just go with it." So for as far as like the victims and the look of that, did you do some of like the concept sketches for that, or what was like the process of like deciding what this look was going to be? Because he has a signature style.
Yeah, well, I did some art drawings on that, and then of course, sometimes you have to look at what your financial possibility to do what you need to do, and so we have to change a few things around and adapting it. But yeah, there were drawings. Sometime part of that there were instruction for the art department, like to build a cross, for example, where we put one of the angel. The other one is instruction for prosthetic and makeup, so how to do their skin and their crown and stuff like that, and the wings, for example. And the other one is a costume. Now the Gina Ruiz did a great work as a costume designer of the film, but for the angel specifically, we had Katarzyna from Poland. That she is a top artist in creating costume for celebrity, like a music video and stuff like that. So she was providing some of those crazy costumes, and Chintamani was doing the makeup and the wings. And I remember seeing people gluing feathers, I was gluing feathers too, overnight with them.
Well, that's a lot of feathers. That's like an all hands on deck situation.
And we were shooting during a time when COVID was bad, and so sometime I remember we had a pair of wings that couldn't arrive in time for the next angels. And so we were like, so what do we do? So we had to dismount the wings from one angel and rebuild it for the other one.
Oh, repurposing. Yeah.
And so, it was tough, but we pull it out. Yeah.
No, it looks gorgeous. Like, I mean, it's like morbid when I'm like, oh wait, but it's a corpse. But if you remove that part, I'm like, this is something that's like a sculpture someone would have hanging in their house. I mean, you'd have to have a gigantic house, but
those girls, they had to be 3 hours and a half in makeup.
Wow.
And then they have to be almost all day standing there without moving. So it was no easy for them.
Yeah. Right. Well, it paid off. Is there something that because you said there were like certain things that you had to take into consideration for budget. So was there something about the look of the angels that you would have wanted to incorporate if it wasn't for budget?
Well, you want to do always something bigger, right? And more expensive.
But it already looks so big to me. So I'm like, what would you have added?
Look, sometime also when you're forced to do something different, not necessarily become worse, maybe better. For example, one of the girls was in the script. She was supposed to be found crucified on a telephone pole in a street alley. But how can you put somebody on a telephone pole? I mean, you need to have like the lifter. It's dangerous. So we have to build a fake pole and all. I was like, and so I didn't know how to do it, and then I saw a little train, a museum with a train thing. I went to ask, and they say, yeah, we can rent a train. I said, oh God, I put it on a train. And
see, so that's the kind of thing though where I'm like, I think it makes it better. Like that is so visually striking to see that, like that painted angel on the front of a train, which is just a weird like image, and like it makes you think of like the little thing, the hood ornament of a car, but like the most morbid version of a hood ornament.
What is the car that has actually as an angel? I forgot. There is a car.
There is a brand, and it has like the angel wings, and it's like this, like it's going fast.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like Mercury or something. I don't know. Now I'm gonna have to look that up. Not my area of expertise, I guess. Yeah, but I feel like that's a happy accident kind of thing because it's so stunning.
Yeah.
And you get the color contrast as well.
Yeah, look, the thing is you can always find something interesting, but you have to adapt to the new situation. You have to be quick. And then in that case, what is your enemy is the time.
Right.
Because you can always find something that replace what you have in your script that can actually turn to be better, but it needs the time. And many times you don't have the time.
Right. The paradox. Yeah. So the artist in this, our main famous serial killer, is played by John Malkovich. How was that working with him?
Fantastic. How can I especially because the guy was really collaborative, and he was carefully reading his script and the pages, and he was doing rehearsal with Melissa, and they were actually suggesting some dialogue change. So it was a fantastic experience. And I don't remember, sometimes they have to do like 5 pages in a day and full of dialogues. And when you see actors that they memorize and they have all those in their head and they never stumble on a line, rarely forget any words, then you can focus more on the composition of your image, how so you don't have to worry about anything. It's like they take away so much work from you,
Yeah.
Those guys, no, he's fantastic. I like the wigs, what I did, I actually painted, because when we talked to him, and he's bored now, in the reality. And so I had a Zoom conversation with him, and then he was thinking about the character like that. And then I say, I want to show you something, maybe in a week. And then I painted his face, his portrait with the wigs and with the white hair. And I say, I imagine this guy more like a King Lear, this is like some kind of eccentric visionary, and I think that clicked on him.
Yeah.
That image, I think he knew, okay, I'm doing this detective story, but I'm working with artists here. So I think he knew it at that moment. Yeah.
Yeah, no, he's amazing in this. I mean, he's amazing in everything, but I'm like, he should play more brilliant serial killers. It suits him.
Yes.
And you also worked with Martin Lawrence, which we normally see him do comedies. I mean, he's your lead detective. He's played a cop in Bad Boys, but that's also comedy. This is just a straight up like dramatic role for him. What made you want to choose him? And then what was that like?
That was proposed by the producer. And in the beginning, I think like, really, I'm like, I got caught by surprise a little bit, because I would never have imagined in the role, you think like Morgan Freeman for this type of role, Forrest Whitaker, Martin Lawrence, really, and then I had with Stacey and his team, we had this Zoom meeting, and I saw him really passionate by want to do a serious role and challenging himself. And I'm thinking, well, this guy can be on a stage and talking for 2 hours. So if somebody can memorize 5 pages, this guy can memorize book, you know what I'm saying? Like, and some say this is going to be, it's very skilled, obviously. And I thought like, well, let's go and play with, and he came, and, obviously he, between takes, there's always a nice laugh. But he was able to withhold the instinct that is natural instinct of being a comedian. Right. Many comedian can do, many comedian can do amazing. I saw what's his name? Other comedian doing Robin Williams, did an amazing drama, so. It's comedians, I think, are actually, they have like, I feel like it's like this, like they have this flip side. So if it's like, if they're this funny, they can also be this equally dark.
You know what I mean? But it's like we're so used to seeing them like, I'm just light and funny and cracking jokes. But then you see them do a dramatic role. And there's many comedians that have done like you see them in their first dramatic role and you're kind of just blown away by it because you're not used to seeing that. It's there. They just don't ever showcase it. So then you get to have a chance to let them showcase it and you're like, oh shit, okay, all right.
Yeah. Well, that would be interesting to see what our audience will think, because sometimes they may have a hard time at the beginning to accept that this is doing something different. So they keep thinking that they put something in their head, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
But I think once the story starts to go, I think they will immediately, on this particular movie, I think he'll carry on and nobody will think about him as a comedian you know.
I think so too. It never felt out of place, and he does a very good job. He just feels very grizzled. You know what I mean? He's like a grizzly old detective. He's seen some shit. He's been at it a long time, and then that's all my mind was at. I didn't think of him as like a comedian.
And there was a discussion, a conversation in the beginning about doing a different look. So not only he become a dramatic actor, but why not to do something with a beard or something that completely make him different? And I oppose to that. I say, well, that will diminish his ability to show and to perform a dramatic actor while he's still Martin Lawrence. So I didn't want to cheat with making him looking completely different, you know,
right.
Big beer or something like that, and say, no. I say, Martin, I want people to see Martin Lawrence and be surprised how good you are as a dramatic actor.
Because then otherwise it looks like you're like, it's Martin Lawrence, but we're going to try and cover that up and pretend it's not Martin Lawrence.
Yeah, exactly.
It draws more attention.
That was the first things come out, and I say, no. I think the fans of Martin Lawrence deserve to see Martin Lawrence. Yeah. And Martin needs to show how good he is as a dramatic actors as well, you know, in a movie that is not a comedy. Yeah.
I think that was the right choice after watching this movie.
And I thought he has something, you know, this is one of the aspects that I like on Martin on this. His sadness, almost like beaten up. He's a guy with a problem that is tortured by dilemma from the past. Yes. And I think he has the kind of a puppy, mistreated, you know, outcast, you know, which I like because it creates empathy, you know. Yes,
it's funny that you said mistreated puppy, because as you're describing this, I'm thinking like, yeah, that kind of like hangdog, kind of like just like a darkness, like a sadness. It's like, wow, buddy, like what's the deal, you know? But it just like clings to him, but it very much exudes that kind of a vibe.
Yes.
I know we have to wrap up pretty soon here, but one last question for you. 'Tis the season, so I'm just wondering, do you have a favorite holiday horror movie?
On this season here, on this
like just like a Christmas horror movie or a holiday horror movie
that is out now, you mean?
It can be an old one, it can be, you know, a classic, or it can be a new one.
I will say let's go. I as a horror, I don't know. I will always go to the Sixth Sense, or I will go to the Shyamalan films, you know.
Okay, yeah.
What was the Guillermo del Toro? I mean, I will go for Pinocchio because somehow it is an horror movie.
Yeah, okay. I haven't seen that one yet. I'm hoping, I think Friday I'm trying to see it.
It has a darkness, you know, that the charming darkness in there.
I can't imagine that it wouldn't. I feel like even if he's like, it's not a horror movie, it's like, but it has a piece of your soul. So it has a darkness and this fantastical darkness to it as well.
Yes.
Beautiful. All right. Thank you so much, guys. MINDCAGE, December 16th. Check it out. It's not what you think it is. So even if you think you already know, go and see it and then let us know what if you were right or if you were wrong. You were wrong.